So, Captain, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
And in line with our online archive tracing the biography of Nigerian sailors, you are one of the senior generation. And what we do in this series is to trace how you rose up from before you joined NNSL. So our first question there is to know who your parents were, the place where you were born, your early education before joining NNSL.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. First of all, let me congratulate you on the work that you continue to do with regards to chronicling the rise and fall of the NNSL.
Yes, thank
I
you,
would
sir.
hope that the outcome of this work would be put into use to ensure that any such organizations that are established in the future do not suffer the same bad fate that befell the NNSL.
Exactly.
All right, well, yes, I'm a Nigerian. I am from Imo State, born and bred and grew up in Lagos. And at the time that I joined the NNSL, or just before I joined the NNSL, I had just left secondary school and had secured a job working as a customs officer. And part of my job actually took me predominantly on board ships because I was a member of a boarding team.
Okay.
And I had the opportunity therefrom to observe how seafarers led their lives and how they did their work on board ships.
Yes.
And what I observed was that it was a very structured environment. The profession itself was very well structured.
Yes.
You could hardly say if you were a seafarer that you were qualified for a position and didn't get it. So if you were clever enough to pass your exams, then you would be promoted to the next rank. And if you continue to pass your exams, then you would absolutely make rapid progress and become a master of a ship in a very short time. I like that very much. I also like to say to you that I met some of my colleagues in the customs after I had left customs.
Yes, yes.
And I became a cadet. And a cadet, of course, is a very lowly person on board the ship, learning all the menial jobs, how to paint, how to scrub wood. And they would come to me and say, "This is Emmanuel Ihenacho here. You left customs to be here." I said, "I just enjoy what I'm doing." It has structure. I know where I'm going.
Yes.
So that is the good thing about the job.
Well, that was in those good old days anyway. A lot of things are changing. So, thank you, sir. We go to the next question, which is about where you were employed, who employed you, was there any interview, did any organization sponsor your training?
I was employed in Lagos. As I said to you, I was in Lagos. I was a customs officer in Lagos. And I boarded the ships on a regular basis in Lagos. I knew the culture on board the ship, and I followed that culture to find out where the NNSL was headquartered.
Okay.
And on one such visit, I saw an advertorial pinned on their board indicating that they were looking for cadets. And I thought, well, this is it. This is what I always wanted. I liked the white uniform. I liked the life on board. So I applied to become a cadet. And it wasn't just me. I remember some of my colleagues actually came from secondary school. They were doing their HSC.
Yes.
And so we were all aggregated. We then sat for an exam here, which was marked in the UK. Because in those days, we didn't have any local training schools for marine cadets. So they sent all our papers to the UK. They marked it, and I was very surprised that I passed. The reason I was surprised was because they specified the subjects that you had to have.
Yes.
Physics, mathematics, really some of those very enumerated subjects, and I thought, well, this is going to be a little bit difficult. But fortunately for me, I scaled through, and we were invited for interview, and subsequently some of us were taken.
Yeah.
And we were then programmed to go to school in the UK for pre-sea study.
Was it the WEMABOD office of NNSL?
Yes, that's the same WEMABOD office, yes.
Yes.
That's where it was.
I used to think that building belonged to NNSL.
Well, it's a shame that...
I didn't know they were tenants.
Yes, it's a shame that a big organization like the NNSL saw it fit to be a tenant to someone. But anyway, that's the reality.
Okay, so it was that building.
Yeah.
All right, so you found yourself in training. And how did you have already told us how you decided to go into seafaring. You liked the ambience.
Yes.
Nobody gave you encouragement in your family, and you didn't have anybody before who was a seafarer.
No, nobody gave me encouragement or discouragement. They just allowed me to get on with it.
Okay.
And in those days, if you had a job opportunity that came with an opportunity to travel to the UK,
of course,
nobody would tell you not to go.
Of course, of course.
So in our case, we were even more fortunate because there is a ranking of maritime schools in the UK.
Okay.
And College of Maritime Studies was part of the University of Southampton in Walsall. Was very highly thought of. It was a very highly thought of, and the curriculum, the discipline in the school, I was very fortunate, and that's where we went. And I would like to say that all throughout my career as a seafarer, you would always see the distinction between a cadet who started and finished at Walsall and cadets who went elsewhere, like they went to Liverpool.
I see.
Yeah, so
I see.
that was that.
So that prepared you very well for...
It actually prepared me very well for seafaring because the location of the school was located at the banks of the Solent River.
Okay.
And so we had boats. We had a ship that we went out on the navigational run for 24 hours, and we would come back. I also, apart from the academic work that we were there to do, I was a junior leading cadet. So I had responsibility for swabbing the boats and taking care of all those equipment. So that was good.
So it must be shameful that what we do in Nigeria is so different from what we are describing.
Well, it shouldn't really be different, but I think the emphasis here really has been tainted by political inputs.
Yes.
So that if you see a maritime institution laying emphasis on the comforts that you find within the premises, I always say that it's not the business of cadets to be playing lawn tennis or to be swimming and all of those things. Cadets are there to study.
Yeah.
So then you have specific time that they study, the things that they have to do, time for recreation as well, like this. So, and also I'd like to take the opportunity to comment upon this craze that people have for higher institutions that award degrees. So we're going to make it a degree awarding institution. The STCW tickets are not degrees. They are completely different. So you shouldn't aspire to have a BSc degree when you are going to sail on board the ship. That's not what you require.
Yeah. You're looking for skills.
You're looking for hands-on skills.
Hands-on skills, yes. Not academic qualification.
No, not at all. If you wanted to do that, then at some point in time you would exit and go and become an academic.
Yes.
Or you could actually do like I did and combine being a hands-on person on board the ship and actually going into academia.
You did that after you had now...
After I had qualified, after I had become a master mariner.
Exactly.
And I had worked for, I think, about 2 or 3 years.
Yes.
Without break on the ships. And I had 1.5 years paid leave.
Yes.
And I thought, what am I going to do for 1.5 years? So I went to university to do an MSc in international transport and then carried on from there.
Anyway, so we hope the authorities and the students, when they hear this, will use it to, as a guardrail to get things right.
Well, that is why we are engaged in this exercise, talking about it, so that people will have the opportunity to read a report of how Capt Ihenacho got to where he is.
Yes.
And if they see any similarities in our situation, then they will be guided by what we had done before.
Yes. Just to get it right. Okay, so who were some of your peers, colleagues, seniors?
There were lots and lots of them. My peers, Captain Arogmonlo, Captain Funsho Yewo, Captain Ofia.
Ofia, yes. Familiar.
There are quite a lot of them.
Okay.
Our seniors, well, you had people like Captain Rushewe.
Okay.
Captain Olubode, Captain Olukoton.
Okay.
Captain Ejemba.
So Captain Olukoton was a senior?
Oh, yeah. I was either a cadet or a fourth officer when he was a captain.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we had all of those things, and it was really a brilliant time.
Yeah.
You know, if you imagine a young man in a job where he earns a lot of money,
yes,
and he has the opportunity to travel to different places,
yes,
endless excitement,
yes,
that's what it was.
Honestly, so it must have been enjoyable.
Yeah,
it must have been very enjoyable. How did you get on with colleagues? Any face-offs? Any experiences you remember? Anything you want to mention?
Of life. There was nothing there. I mean, nobody comes into a place and then he says, "Oh, this man is a troublemaker, and you're fighting your colleagues." No, sometimes you are happy with them, sometimes you're happy with them, and vice versa.
Yeah, sure.
You know, but the thing is, on balance, you would remember what you came there to do.
Oh, yeah.
That you are a professional.
Yes. That
the life of people on board and the safety of property depended on you as a ship's officer, and that you would never ever lose sight of all those factors, more particularly the safety elements.
The seriousness and discipline was very high.
It was absolutely high. And then the routines that you followed on board ships was so set.
Yes.
So if we were sailing at sea, I know exactly what I should be doing every time, you know. So if I was a third officer, say, I would wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning. It wouldn't be my watch, but I would go on board the ship to lay down a line through calculation, because in those days we didn't have satellites that told us where we were.
Yeah.
So we would use the sextant to drop down the sun, and through calculations we would do an infinite line that you could be on. You could be anywhere on that line, but it goes all the way around the world. So you inscribe it on the chart. Yeah. And then you calculate when the noon would be on board your ship, and you come down there and then calculate and then get a proper fix of where you are. And that was what you did as a third officer, second officer. Sometimes some of us got so good at doing this, because I remember later Captain Osiafa.
Yes, I've heard that name before.
Osiafa. And if the second officer laid the line, and I came and laid the line, he would not touch the second officer and say, "Line."
Yes.
So that's we are on your line.
So what were the voyages like from Lagos to Liverpool, to Lagos?
We were operating a liner service, which, as you understand, is definite sailings that are advertised, and you give regularity of sailings to all the ports. It doesn't matter if there is no cargo in the port, for instance, and you are in the liner service, you are obliged to call it that port. So it will be from here, and we will then go to Ghana, or we go to Ivory Coast and we pick up cocoa, and then we then carry it all the way down to either UK. And once we drop it in the UK, either we would load in the UK or we'll cross the channel and go to Europe. Okay. And we'll load and then start coming back down south. So that's basically what we did.
The aspect about whether there, even if there's cargo, even if there's no cargo, you call on that port. Will be a hard one sometimes, isn't it?
That is what makes a liner service a difference, because the costs of liner service are fixed. You can calculate it and say, I must call in all of these ports, and this is the cost of calling in those ports. Okay. That is also the advantage of what you are doing, because every trader, international trader, can now sit down with confidence and say, whether I like it or not, on this day, this man will have a sailing for me. Okay. Yeah. So the idea really was to use that service structure to absolutely wrong foot any opportunistic vessels who want to come in and pick cargoes. So no, don't come in. These guys are there.
So the regularity is assured.
Regularity, you're just there all the time.
Yeah, so that could also affect the freight rate, because that means that you will now put a freight rate that will make sure that even if there are...
That is it now. If you must have heard the saying that the freight rates for liner shipping is determined on the basis of what the traffic can bear.
Okay. Yes.
It isn't determined by spot costs.
I see.
It's what the traffic can bear. So when I've done all my calculations over a long period and I know what the average cost is,
yes.
So then we will set the price.
Okay.
Very
interesting, Captain. And the cargoes, we have mentioned some of the cargoes, mentioned cocoa, for example.
That's right. These are the exported cargoes from West Africa. And then, of course, we will pick up manufacturers and semi-manufacturers from Europe to bring down to West Africa.
Okay.
I would also like to say that in those days, when we first went to sea, we sailed on regular general cargo vessels.
Yes.
But over time, the technology of the cargo packaging changed, and so it was found to be more convenient to be stored in containers.
Yes.
And that meant that the ship's shape had to change.
Yes.
From being a triangle,
it
now became a box, so that you can maximize the amount of cargo that you can carry in the amount of boxes.
Yes.
So that is what we did, and it also affected the technology of propulsion. So at one time, it didn't really matter. Speed wasn't really a big issue because the cost of the bunkers was low. But over time, when the cost of bunkers became very significant, people now started looking at the changes that could be made to the engine, so that you had engines that would operate at low speed, more efficient. So all of these things came to bear. If you were in the management of a shipping company and didn't understand all of these things and the impact that they had on costs and your survivability, you went bankrupt.
And that could have been part of NNSL's problems.
Well, that was definitely part of the NNSL's problems. They didn't pay adequate attention to commercial issues, commercial and marketing issues.
Yes.
In terms of running the NNSL organization, they paid a lot of attention to technical issues, the technical function. Technical function was responsible for manning. Technical function was responsible for buying victuals, buying bunkers. So everybody wanted to be where the money was being spent. And of course, you can't eat your cake and have it. Yeah, so at some point in time, if you looked at your purse and you didn't see proper earnings, then you would go back to the government and say, we're short of money. And so that was why
this all kept coming, became Oliver Twist.
Yeah, so exactly, we became Oliver Twist. That said, well, you're supposed to be earning money, but it's not balancing.
Yeah.
Because you are not keeping an eye on what you're supposed to do.
You're not managing very well. And, well, let's go to some of the personal side now. You were with your family. Of course, you were a bachelor before you.
I was.
So how did you make that transition from being a bachelor to family?
Well,
how was your family based?
I was a bachelor up until, what year did I get married now? I think I got married when I was 37 years old.
Okay.
I quite enjoyed being a bachelor and being a senior officer, and I thought, well, my God, I'm so attractive to all these people. They say he's earning so much money and he's not married. But of course, a time comes when you know that you can't continue to meet that life and you have to get married. So I met my wife when I went to do an MSc degree in the University of Wales. I met her in 1985, and we went out for a few years, and then we got married.
Okay.
And once we got married, I never went back to sea.
Okay.
So that was it. So I was at sea, got married, and then went ashore and did other things.
Okay. So that there was no hassle about...
No. I didn't think that it was a nice thing to be leaving your wife for months and months on end.
But many other married people have that problem, isn't it?
Well, I mean, a lot of married people, sometimes it bothers them. Some people it doesn't bother. But for me, it was simple.
Yeah.
Once I got married, I was out.
Because I remember, just on the lighter side, and I remember in our village, there's a man we know as a seller.
Mm.
And one thing, by the time we now grew, as little children, we will not understand the implication. But when we now grew up, we now discovered a lot of the children, the sons of that man, did not resemble him. They resemble one other man in the village.
It could well have been their father.
So it was later when I began to interact with captains and I understood some of these problems.
Yeah, it could well have been. I mean, you can't put it past our people.
Anyway, so salary structure and all that. How did you like the NNSL conditions of service? Was it good?
It was very good actually. The salary was based on international standards almost, and generally we earned much more than the senior management ashore.
Yes.
So the salary wasn't a problem at all. The only thing is that I really wish that the NNSL had invested a little bit more in training its senior seafarers in management.
Okay. Yeah.
So that they could make a transition from being seafarers really managed by fiat, do this, do that, or else I'm going to break your head.
Yes.
To ones that can sit down and persuasively tell you why you have to do certain things.
Yeah. And
ones that are also properly geared towards understanding that the purpose of the company is to make profit.
Yes. Yes. There was
no such investment at all. And so they would make a decision to bring you ashore. So you're the chief engineer. That's what you are. So the captain. That's what you are. The company is not like a ship.
Yes, yes.
So the company needs a different set of skills for you to be able to achieve the company's objectives.
To run as a going venture.
Absolutely.
Which NNSL eventually. What was promotion and career development that you have talked about that?
Yes.
And then we'll combine that with a total view of the NNSL this thing. How did we get it right or wrong?
We really got it wrong because of a political intervention in the way the company was run.
Yes.
If you recall that at some point in time we were having military officers or military officers being appointed. And military officers absolutely didn't have the necessary skills to run this thing. And it became apparent in a very short while, but nobody could get up and challenge all these powerful political individuals.
Yes.
So the consequence is that a huge investment that had been taken out by the government in establishing the NNSL came to waste.
Yes.
What was also painful was that after the demise of the NNSL, and where we should have sat down and carried out the proper post-mortem to say this is what killed the NNSL, never again. We established another company called the NUL and ran it exactly as we ran the NNSL, and it went the same way.
It's true. Now, Captain, after you left NNSL, how did you run your life?
Well, when I went ashore in '85, I never went back to the ship. I sought a posting opportunity in Liverpool, and I worked there for about 2 or 3 years, and I acquired skills which showed me that if I wanted to progress in life, I had to do other things like how to establish a company and how to run a company. And that's how I started my company, Genesis Worldwide Shipping, after I left NNSL. And we went on to acquire one ship through help that we got from NIMASA.
NMA.
The National Maritime Authority. A small amount of money. We bought a type SD-14 general cargo ship, very old and depreciated ship. But it's to our credit that we ran that ship and increased our fleet size to about 7 fully blown ships. And at some point in time, because of the age issue, we scrapped them.
Yeah.
but not before we had acquired the skills in running ships.
So that was good. And so how did that, now you are into oil,
Yes, it's
oil and gas,
it's a function of what we were doing. We first of all ran general cargo vessels.
Yeah.
And then at one point in time, it occurred to us that there were opportunities for making money by running ships in our coast.
Okay.
So we invested in tanker vessels, and from investing in tanker vessels,
Okay.
we were acting as a shuttle, taking cargoes from import vessels and taking them to depots. So we were thinking, why don't we own the depot? So we built a depot.
I see.
So then from owning the depot, why don't we own road tanker trucks? So we own road tanker trucks.
Yes.
So why don't we own filling stations? So we own filling stations.
Yes.
So that's what we did.
So one thing led to the other.
Yeah.
All right, Captain. In the last question we have, do you have any favorite flags, artifacts, mementos, things?
Favorite what?
Flags. Did you have collections when you were a captain?
I have a favorite photograph that I took in Rouen in France.
In France.
When I was a captain. I was 32 years old at that time.
Yes.
And that photograph is in my house, so it's very elegant, even though I say so much.
So one of the things we will show you there.
Yeah, so
on the page.
So I will show you. It's very nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll use that. Thank you very much, Captain. We'll end that segment of the interview on online archiving at this point, and we thank you and we congratulate you for making it a successful thing. Do you have any other thing you want to say before we close that aspect?
I am just thankful that I had the opportunity to work in the NNSL.
Okay.
It really created it was a platform for me from which I could rise to become who I am today.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, this building that we're sitting in,
exactly. Yes.
Do you know that this was NNSL's building?
I heard about it.
Not this very building.
Yes.
But this is where it was located.
Okay.
And I remembered when I first left the NNSL and I came down to Lagos, I came to visit Mr. Chidi, who was living here at the time.
I see.
And at that time, I was harboring the ambition that I could become the managing director of it. And I was thinking, God, I would be living in this house.
If I got the position.
If I got the position, but of course I didn't get the position, so I left.
Yeah.
And I was very pleasantly surprised when after I lost that opportunity to become, somebody said, oh, by the way, there's a house in Liverpool Road, in a Marine Road that is being sold. So which house? They said I said, buy it, because then I had money, you see.
Yeah. So
I bought the house. And so when NNSL people come down here to hold meetings, I tell them, so this used to be an NNSL house.
Very, very interesting. Very interesting twist of history.
Yes, I think this used to be the NNSL house.
Yes.
Mr. Daisy was here.
Yes.
Mr. Chidi was here. All of them.
Okay.
And I could really give a lot of money to go into their hearts and see what they were thinking.
Yeah. That is life, Captain. That's life. Congratulations again.
Yeah, we thank God.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.